All right, we're looking at the Joyce Osborne case study here. Let's scroll down and read that first question. Question 1, is Osborne correct with respect to her opening statement? So we've got yes, or B, only with respect to convergence of future and spot price, or C, only with respect to equivalence of a futures to a spot transaction. So let's read till we get to that statement. Joyce Osborne is a derivatives analyst at Continental, a research firm. Osborne is preparing a report that addresses how futures are priced and valued. The report aims to educate trainees at Continental during their induction at the firm. Osborne begins her report with, so it looks like this is her statement. The futures price must converge to the spot price each time the account is marked to the market. So that looks like it's related to answer B right here. So whether that's correct or not will be important. And then in addition, a transaction involving the purchase of a futures contract with an immediate expiration is economically equivalent to a spot transaction. So, and that's corresponding right here to answer C. So we've got two parts to this statement, and we need to determine which of these are correct, or if not, both of them. So looking at this the first statement, futures price must converge to the spot price each time the account is marked to market. So essentially, it's saying every time the spot gets closer to its futures price, it's basically going to be, if we have a spot price here and our futures price is here, being a higher price, every time we're marking to market, it should be going up towards that futures price. And I think we can kind of look at this from the standpoint of, this might be the general line, but it's probably going to look more like this. It's going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then kind of converge to that over time. So it's not necessarily going to be converging every single time we're marked to market. So I think we can rule out that part of the statement. And so when we do that, we can really go ahead and rule out A and B right away. Oh, sorry. We can go ahead and rule out A and B right away, since she's not correct with respect to the convergence of the future and spot prices, which would mean the whole statement is also not correct. So we should be going with C, and let's talk through that one, make sure that's correct. So in addition, a transaction involving the purchase of a futures contract with an immediate expiration is economically equivalent to a spot transaction. So if I'm buying a futures and it's immediately expiring, is that equivalent to a spot transaction? And the answer is yes. If it wasn't, then there would be a big arbitrage opportunity, in market makers or whoever else would just be buying these futures that are expiring immediately and then selling, and then able to sell them at a higher spot. Which, if they could do that, that would be risk-free. And so what happens is the market makes it not risk-free by bidding that up. So it is equivalent. So that second part is correct, and we'll go with answer C. Question 2, using the data in Exhibit 1 and ignoring intraday interest, the value of the futures contract at 1200 hours on day 2 is equal to $1, $2, or $4. So let's read until we get to this exhibit. We left off right here. Next, Osborne attempts to demonstrate how a futures contract is valued. The underlying asset is Ace Corporation stock, which is currently priced at $48. The tenure of the futures contract is 3 months. Osborne collects futures prices over several points in time over the first 2 trading days of the contract, which is Exhibit 1. The account is assumed to be marked to market at the end of each trading day. So day 0, currently that's the futures price. Then day 1, at 1700, that's the futures price. And then we're looking at day 2. So we're looking at, what do we not want to know? The value of the futures contract at 1200 hours on day 2 is equal to. So essentially, what is this mark to market, and what's the value at? So at 1200 hours or noon, we're at $50. And then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the previous day closing price from this in order to get the value of the futures contract. So we're not subtracting it from the price this morning. We're going to be subtracting it from the price yesterday when the market closed, which is indicated here at 1700 hours or 5 o'clock. So we're going to do 50 minus 46 and get $4 for that calculation, which is going to be right here. Answer C. Question 3. Does an arbitrage opportunity exist with respect to the ACE Corporation stock? So we've got no, yes, a riskless profit of 0.005 can be earned, or yes, a riskless profit of 0.64 can be earned. So we need to read until we get some more information. So we left off at Exhibit 1. Let's keep reading until we have enough information here. Osborne proceeds to demonstrate how the equity futures contract on ACE Corporation stock can be used to generate arbitrage profits. All right, it looks like we'll be getting some good information here for our question. With this example, she aims to demonstrate how arbitrage opportunities result from the mispricing of futures. Data relevant for the analysis have been summarized in Exhibit 2. So we've got pricing of a 3-month equity futures with a risk-free rate of 3%, and then current futures price. And then we also have the spot price up here at $48. So essentially what we're going to be doing here is we're going to calculate the fair value of a futures contract given a spot price of $48 and this 3-month time horizon and 3% equity or 3% risk-free rate. And then we're going to compare that to the current futures price and then determine whether there's an arbitrage opportunity there. So if the calculation yields us $49, there will be no arbitrage opportunity. If it yields us less or any amount besides $49, then there will be an opportunity to go long or short one asset, to long or short both of the assets in order to snag that risk-free profit. So let's look at that calculation here. So we're going to be calculating the futures, the fair value futures price, which is going to be the spot price, which will be the current price of the underlying at 48. And then we're going to do a continuously compounding multiplication of R, which is our risk-free rate, times T. Since we're doing 3-month equity futures, T is going to be 0.25. Our R is 0.03. And we see when we do that, we get 48.361. And so our arbitrage-free profit is going to be the difference between that fair value there and the current futures price, which is 0.639. And if we round that, we can see we'll get, yes, we do have a riskless profit of $0.64. Answer C. Question 4. The future value difference between storage costs and convenience yields suggests that the oil futures market is in contango backwardation or normal contango. Let's read until we get some information here. We left off right under Exhibit 2. Osborne's final item for inclusion in her report addresses how convenience yields and storage costs affect the relationship between futures and spot prices. She analyzes a 6-month crude oil futures contract currently priced at $35.72. She further determines that the future value difference between storage costs and convenience yields is plus 12.6. A 3% risk-free rate is used for the analysis, and Osborne assumes no risk premium associated with holding the asset. So this is what that formula kind of looks like. So the futures price is going to be roughly equal to the spot price plus storage cost, and then minus any yield. So essentially the storage cost is what it costs to store the commodity that you're looking at. And then the yield is going to be any income that the commodity you're looking at kind of produces you in the meantime. So you're compensated in the futures price for your costs. So you're what you paid for it plus what it costs to store it. But then if you're getting some income in the meantime, that kind of offsets some of that. So this plus 12.6 would indicate that our storage cost minus yield is a positive number, meaning that the storage cost is greater than the yield. So if storage cost is greater than yield, then we would expect the futures price to be above spot price. And we know that if futures price is above spot price, that means that the market is upward sloping like this, which would mean that it's in contango. And so this is going to be time on our x-axis here and price on this axis. So if we're going up this way, we're in contango. If we're going downward sloping, that means our yield is greater than our storage costs, and we would have backwardation in that context. So we will go with answer A.